draft expert right here,
All right.
man.
Well, let's hear about it. Let's go.
This is my
Hot
guy.
seat.
You know,
Let's
we go
go
way back here. So, yeah, let's pick his brain a little bit. He's
How
been
far
helping
back
me.
do you go?
Well, he worked at Bleacher Report.
My first job.
First job
My first
ever.
real job.
He was just some little, like, nerd in the room, like,
Always.
typing stuff. And then he was always inquisitive. And
knock
asking
on the
me
glass
football.
and be like, hey, Chris, here's 10 ideas, 10 numbers, whatever you want. And
he was
I
great.
learned a lot from this guy when I was 22.
I could tell he was all in.
Yep.
All right, so I'm
All
not
about
shocked
it.
to see him here at the table with us.
So he came to NBC knowing you were here despite having experience with you in the past.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel
Well,
about that.
yeah, maybe he didn't have a lot of work options, so he was just like, I got to come here and deal with Sims.
All right, so let's talk about the draft then.
Yeah.
We got fill in the blank. We'll start with this. Players I'm most excited to see work out here are who?
I think 2 wide receivers and Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU and Troy Franklin from Oregon because all we do when we're here is hear Marvin Harrison Jr. He's not going to do anything he doesn't have to. Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, right?
Right.
These 2 guys should go in the first round.
Yeah.
And I think their landing spots are more exciting, like a Buffalo, like a Kansas City, where the impact could be insane. They're both tall, but they're both going to run in the 4.3s. They're going to jump through the roof.
They're going to run like that?
I think
LSU kid, Thomas, is going to run 4.3?
I think so. I mean, this is a dude, I was telling you, Chris,
Yeah.
he was the player of his state championship basketball game.
Right.
So this is a different athlete, really different. He's not getting the same attention because he was in the offense with Malik Neighbors, with Jaden Daniels. But he looks the part.
I
call him special.
Yeah.
I really think they left yards on the field for him because he'd get so open
Right.
that he'd have to kind of turn around and wait for the
Gotcha.
ball a little
Right.
bit. And then Franklin, I mean, Bo Nix was a good quarterback in college, and Franklin was the dude in that offense. But I feel like not enough people watch Oregon.
Yeah.
Enough. He's been really good for 2 years. These are legit burners. Franklin reminds me of Will Fuller, almost a clone.
Okay.
But I think he can carry a little bit more weight in the future.
Okay, thinner frame, that type of guy. So your guy, Brian Thomas, though, I mean, that if he runs a 4.3, I know everyone's kind of got him in the late first round. It kind of feels like
Top
that'll
15.
That'll
I
change
really
the
think
game,
so.
right?
I think if Jacksonville loses Calvin Ridley, that's the guy I take. I sprint the card in.
Okay, one other thing here, too, that I want to ask you about, because you brought up the name, and I just something, again, I'm not diving in here yet, but the Romeo Odunze, right? I did a Washington game I announced against earlier this year against Michigan State. I saw him in person. He's a damn good player.
Yep.
Is he explosive enough to be a top 10 pick? That would be my one question off of TV scouting and things like that. Like, what's he? Because right now he's going 6, he's going 5.
It's too rich. It's a little rich.
And I'm
for
like,
me.
that's only for special receivers, and I don't know if I see that.
He doesn't run away from people like Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors do, right? That's the difference. And everybody's going to tell you about his high school track background, and he's going to test well here. But on the field, in the pack, he doesn't run away from guys like those other guys do.
That's
where he's going to have to win in contested catch situations. He's going to have to win with a little bit more nuance.
Route running.
Yes. Insanely hard worker. Worked out with the Washington basketball team in the offseason to work on that above the rim ability.
Right.
But there's a tier there. There's a gap there.
Okay.
I have him more in the 10 to 15 range, while Malik and Marv, no-brainer top 5, borderline top 3 players in this draft.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know, when you talk about these receivers, Connor, it reminds me of just this dynamic I think we're still working through where receiver is kind of becoming like running back.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be harder for receivers who have experience to get compensated properly. You're going to have a small group that do, and then the rest of them, hey, why are we going to pay this guy $15, $20 million a year when we can just go draft? Because every year, just like with running backs, every year there's guys that are coming in that can get it done.
And Minnesota really got my brain spinning on this one when they were willing to trade Diggs. And yes, this is a rare example, but then they draft Justin Jefferson. And that's not, you can't repeat that.
No, it's hard.
But I look at the Bengals.
Like the Titans tried to do it
Yes,
with A.J.
that's
Brown
a good
and
failure
Treylon
example.
Burks, right?
Perfect
Connor,
failure
this
example.
is one of the reasons why I think the Vikings, even though Kevin O'Connell says they're not thinking about it, they got Jordan Addison last year. So you could move on from a Justin Jefferson in theory if you're valuing the quarterback position as something where it's more rare and more difficult to get a great player.
Right. One more thing I want to hit on the receivers. Well, why isn't the kid from Michigan, all right, and Jerome Odunze, I'm sorry I said that wrong, but why isn't Roman Wilson, that's why I got it wrong there, why is he not?
It's coming.
It's coming.
It started at the Senior Bowl. I mean, it really started when he won a national title and was that
you're
guy.
seeing him against the elite teams, and you're going, he's getting open against everybody.
I think it's size.
Right.
I think this is a big wide receiver class.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of 6'3", 6'4" ish. But another dude that can run away from people, the one-handed catches, really explosive. He was the only guy at the Senior Bowl that could beat Quinyon Mitchell. He was going to be a top 20 pick as a corner.
Right.
So that jumped out to me right away.
He's the Toledo guy? Who's Quinyon Mitchell? Toledo,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
So
right.
Roman Wilson, I think he's going in the second round when everyone thought 4th to 5th. He's had that kind of year.
I would see that for sure.
All right, next up, the film I've enjoyed watching most during draft prep is who?
A guy you guys got to talk to, Leatu Latu. You just don't see a college pass rusher that complete. He can counter. He's got all these different moves. He'll try spin, cross chop.
Right.
You hear him talk. He's a really smart dude. And the adversity he dealt with, I mean, medically retired from Washington. So had to restart his football life. And he plays like that. He plays like, this is my last snap of football.
What were you saying yesterday?
It's evident on the film. And then another defender, Tavondre Sweat, because they just don't make 380-pound humans that he could stop the run, he could two-gap, he could sit in the middle, but he can push the pocket.
Right.
I mean, and I asked him yesterday, I'm like, what was the deal with the jump and pass rush ability? I was like, I knew you could always stop the run. You go from 3 sacks to 8 sacks.
Right.
You go to the Senior Bowl, he's forklifting people in one-on-ones. He's like, less school. He's like, I was interning this year. He's like, I'd been this is his 5th year at Texas. He's like, I had less to worry about with school. I was focused on my internship, and I was basically playing football most of the time.
That's right.
And, I mean, it's real.
Yeah.
The ability with his hands, his
strength. Why guys get better in the NFL.
Right. And he said that to me. He was, I cannot wait to get to the NFL to just be playing football because I got so much better this year when that started.
We see guys like this get undervalued, I think, every year, right? I kind of talked to him about this on Monday. The Vita Veas, right? Some of these guys, the Jordan Davis.
Dexter
Lawrence, right? Oh, they're so big, but there's no pass rush value. And then you go, wait, Dexter Lawrence is like one of the best pass rushers in football last year. I mean, period. I mean, so I always feel like people miss on that a little bit just because it's not sexy and athletic in quite the same way. But in the NFL, man, there's value. Is there any, let me hear you. You know me, I love kamikaze. Right? Last year, you told me, you were like, you're going to love watching Devin Witherspoon. You know what I like? I like psychos in a good way that'll do whatever and just fly around. Is there anybody that, is maybe raw, maybe not getting the attention, but you go, wait, he's got some freaky traits and it's kind of fun to watch the film?
I think Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker from Texas A&M.
Okay.
He's a dude that he's obsessed with Fred Warner, and because that's his game. You can kick him out to the slot, overhang, play him in the middle, sideline to sideline. He just wants to be that positionless kind of player, but he's built like a linebacker.
Yeah, gotcha.
You talked to him yesterday. I mean, he hunts boar like a real country guy.
Right.
He's all about football. He's a really exciting dude. But with guys like that, the instincts are catching up, and they are. They're getting a lot better. But if you go to a scheme, you think Jets, 49ers, Houston Texans.
Simple, just attack
run
the
and
ball.
chase,
right,
be an athlete.
Right.
He's that kind of kamikaze.
Gotcha.
Players that should be getting more buzz are...
Ooh, that's a really good one. I think Ricky Pearsall from Florida, another wide receiver. I know we're hammering the wide receivers here, but that's a guy that gets lost in the class, right? Because there's too many freaks.
Watching TV this year, I was like, damn, number 3 on Florida is good.
6'1", 190, so nothing special, but when you can get open, great release package, good speed, and everyone's looking at him and going, okay, average size. I think he's going to jump through the roof here. I think he's going to run 4.4. I mean, he's somebody that could play inside, outside. I didn't think Florida's passing offense while he was there was anything special. Even with Anthony Richardson, they could really run the ball and pick their spots throwing. Nobody could cover him at the Senior Bowl. He catches legitimately everything. I think he was just as good as Roman Wilson that week.
Right.
This dude is a really good player. I'd take him in the second round. I'm hearing he's going to go in the 4th. I think that's going to correct itself after this week.
How hard is it to project, though? When I think back all the way to Desmond Howard, who gets the NFL, can't get off the line of scrimmage. Like, these guys who can get open on a consistent basis at the college level, all of a sudden, L'Jarius Sneed is getting the Tyreek Hill treatment, jamming him into the ground. Like, we just don't know until they get there and have to deal with that.
Right, and that's where you start to value, who do I need to give a free release to? I mean, that's on the offensive coaching, and who can go out there and just be that guy.
Yeah.
And it makes the people like that so much more valuable. Like, if I play Marvin Harrison on the outside against the L'Jarius Sneeds of the world, well, he's 6'4", he's strong, he runs perfect routes, he tracks the ball.
Yeah.
He's going to win.
It's going to be risky for L'Jarius to go crazy.
Right, but if I throw the typical slot player out there, when the hands are on him for the first time, they're like, whoa, this is a different game.
Right.
That's where you start to value guys you take in the first round and guys that you're going to have to scheme around in this on day 2.
Right. Yeah, find bunches, find stacks, help those guys
Everything
out.
McDaniel does.
But the guys you're talking about, right? Like the guys you're going that are special, they don't need that. They don't. And you can see that. And the biggest thing is predicated on one thing. We kind of had this conversation on Monday too. Can you scare the shit out of the DB to make him think I'm going for 70 over the top, right? You know, we talk about Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Tyreek Hill, which to me is, and A.J. Brown, I would say are my 4 favorite receivers, best receivers in football. And the biggest thing is the 9 route. The go route, they scare everybody. So it leaves everything else open. That's what a lot of the talent's predicated on. And wait, I was going to make the point. I mean, he says the draft is deep at receiver, right? To what you're saying, I mean, I'm with you in the thought that the value of the receiver can fall here.
Right. I had 14 in the top 75.
Right.
And I was telling you, Chris, when I did that, I'm like, all right, let's go through this again. That's too heavy.
Yeah.
And then you start to talk to other guys that do this, and they're just running into the same exact thing.
Right.
So this is a product of the 7-on-7 era.
Yep.
All these freak shows at wide receiver. They are pretty pro ready because all they do is play football, it feels
and
like.
throw.
And throw the ball.
Nobody runs the damn ball.
So now you have a surplus of wide receivers
Right.
where everybody's screaming for us to get some offensive line help in this league.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 7-on-7 thing is huge. That was when we first kind of detected several years ago this influx of guys who are ready to go right out of the gates. All those quarterbacks throwing, somebody's catching.
High schools are having spring practice now. It's all helped out the quarterback-receiver combo.
Next up, there will be blank. Quarterbacks taken in round 1.
I'd set it at 4.5. I'll tell you right now, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and J.J. McCarthy, they're gone. They're locked in. It's a matter of where they go. I think all of them go in the top 15. The 2 variables are Bo Nix and Michael Penix. Penix here with the medical, going to be a big deal.
Right.
And then with Bo, I think it's just how do you value that kind of player that isn't as physically gifted as a lot of these guys, but was the best against pressure.
Yeah.
Got a lot better throughout his time at Oregon.
Definitely did.
Really ran a
Improved.
flawless offense.
Yeah.
And he'll do really well with the board work and everything here, so you don't worry about that. So how do you value that kind of player?
One of those 2 sneak into the late first round.
Right. I would say one does.
Right.
We don't know which one. So I'd say 5 quarterbacks in the first round, which is a lot.
That is a lot. And you think J.J. McCarthy is going to be a top 15?
I do. You have that slate where Denver, Minnesota, and the Raiders are all together.
Right.
It just feels like somebody in that cluster goes, okay, we might sit him.
Yeah.
You should sit him.
Right.
But we're going to take him here because this is our shot.
What do you think McCarthy's going to weigh in at?
I'm hoping he's at least 210.
Right.
He played at 195.
It looked like
He's
it.
slender. He's
I know.
tall.
Yeah.
He can carry the weight.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and you see how these guys put on weight. But
yeah, he's a young kid still.
I'd say 210.
I met him early in the year. He's a young kid, right? It's like he just hit puberty a few weeks ago.
That's why
it
he needs
feels
to
like.
sit.
Hey, your guy Jim Harbaugh says he's the top quarterback. He also wrote the check that he's going first overall when it's all said and done. I think that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
It's a long odds.
That's not going to happen. He's an athlete. I think we both think he could probably run high 4.5-ish.
Yeah, he can
right?
fly.
He can run. And then his arm, right, watching him Sunday afternoon, he can throw. I mean, he can throw it. He really can. His motion gets a little long at times, but the arm power is worthy of a first-round pick. That is for sure.
Aside from quarterback's position group that's strongest in the draft is, you've already said receiver. Give me another one.
I think the offensive line is deep, which is great. And it's not just the tackles. We'll have about 5 to 6 go in the first round. You got a great center class. You got 3 centers that are going in the top 45 easily. They could even go earlier than that. And then you got the flex guys. They could play guard. They got the guard
tackle,
body.
not sure,
they got the feet to play tackle.
Right.
There's a ton of guys like that. Troy Fontenot from Washington's a top 20 player.
Yeah.
But he's got not the arms, but the body of a guard. He really knows how to drop his hips, unlock that hip power. So I would say the offensive line class is really deep, and you got the guys that have played a lot of football, the guys that haven't but have all-world traits. Tyler Guyton, 1-year starter from Oklahoma. He's going to go in the first round.
Right.
This is a talented offensive line class, and the league absolutely needed it.
Well, how about DBs? Is there depth there?
Corner, not safety.
Yeah.
At corner, there's depth.
Damn, safety is a few years here. It's just not a ton of guys.
It feels like the guys that get thrown to safety were guys they just didn't trust their speed at corner.
Yeah.
And then you go to they're not being asked to do anything special.
Right.
They're either living in the box or they're sitting in a 2-shell. The day of, hey, we play you single high 70% of the time, you got to read sideline to sideline.
Yeah.
You don't see college kids asked to do that anymore.
Right. So you think corner's got some depth, but maybe not the high-end guys that are we've
One
seen.
or two could sneak into that top 20.
You're right.
Mitchell from Toledo,
Right.
Terrion Arnold from Alabama, Nate
Right.
Wiggins from Clemson. But picks 20 through 40, we'll get 7 corners taken.
Which one of, like, again, you're so into this, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna, like, receiver, DB, running back, Who's the guy out there right now that's like, watch out when he runs the 40? He has a chance to do 4.2, right? Ooh. Is there a guy that's got that buzz this year?
I haven't seen it from a running back.
Right.
From corner, they're going to fly.
Yeah.
Mitchell from Toledo, they're saying 4.3s, which is wild at 6 feet, 205 pounds.
Right.
Wiggins from Clemson, 6'2". I think he runs in the 4.3s.
Right.
And then you get into the guys that Cooper DeJean from Iowa would have ran really well. He's still hurt, so he's coming back from that. We'll see what Terron Arnold from Alabama can run. It's going to be a really fast corner class. I think out of the only guy that's going to go 4.2s that I feel good about is Anthony Gould from Oregon State. He's a returner.
Okay.
But, I mean, you're thinking 4.28 kind of player.
Nobody's going
to
challenge CJ2K or John Ross.
I'll go back to Troy Franklin from Oregon.
Okay.
I really think 4.29, 4.28's in play for a 6'3" wide receiver.
That's a different. I mean, hey, listen, 4.2 and 4.3. There's a difference there.
Yes.
That's rare.
This dude, it's like he's got a cape on when he runs.
Last one, team that will be most aggressive during the draft is, in your opinion, who?
If they're allowed to be, and not by their own team, but somebody actually answers the phone, the Raiders, they want a quarterback. They want a guy. But it's a reality that the Bears aren't going to move. The Washington's not going to move. New owner, he's here at the quarterback interviews. They're going to take a guy. Will New England move? If New England answers the phone, the Raiders, to me, would be the team that says, here's 3 ones. We don't care.
Right.
We need our guy. You got to realize with Antonio Pierce, coached Jaden Daniels in high school, recruited Jaden Daniels to Arizona State.
Right.
Jaden Daniels is there at 3, and that relationship is still what we think it is.
Right.
Why not sell the house for the future of your franchise?
That was one of
the Pierce said earlier this week that they don't want a Band-Aid solution. They want to draft a guy. They want a proven winner. I mean, he was going on and on, like too many boxes to check.
Well, that was the mistake we thought McDaniels made, right? Josh McDaniels. That was one of my things. They should have traded up for the quarterback last year.
Richardson.
Right. And, I've heard things there that, the front office didn't want to make the move. The coaches were kind of like, no, we want to move up to get one of these quarterbacks.
They thought they could make C.J. Stroud slide.
Maybe that's too.
Possibly.
I know, right.
Possibly.
Yeah, kind of shocking, though. But, they do need to make an aggressive move. I hear you there.
I think he's aware of the shelf life of coaches and GMs in the NFL. Just sell the picks and get a guy, and we go out swinging.
Yeah.
He has that awareness.
Yeah.
And played in the league.
Right.
These other guys, they kind of – even the Bears have done it. They've really tiptoed around that situation.
Definitely.
But eventually, you got to take the swing.
Yeah, well, they're about to swing.
You have to. You
got
to go up there and swing the bat.
They're about to swing and tell us all that they're drafting Caleb Williams at 1.
Yep. Connor, great stuff.
Thanks so much
nice
for having me.
Nice jacket. Can't hide money.
Whoa. He's styling, man. He's so cool. We can't mess with Connor.
We'll be back to wrap up this Thursday edition of PFT Live right after this. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.